I'm Jason Aponte. That's Taylor Mauser, the offensive coordinator from Iowa State. We're going to ask him a few questions about his time at Iowa State, some of my favorite prospects, and Jaylin Noel and Jayden Higgins, and of course, some questions about Brock. But first off, Taylor, thank you for doing this, man. How's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for having me. Excited to be able to talk about our guys. They're the best.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that because there seems to be some pushback, and I want to know if maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not seeing it or anything like that. But first, your time at Iowa State's really interesting because your progression through, you started as a graduate assistant in 2016. You moved up to assistant director of scouting, then quality control offense, then tight ends assistant head coach, and now you're offensive coordinator and tight ends coach as well. Tell me about that, the steps that it took and how it's helped you improve as a coach.
Yeah, for me, it's always just kind of been about being present in the role that I have, and I've never tried to look too far down the road. I've always just tried to be where my feet are, and every role that Coach Campbell's ever given me, I've been incredibly thankful for, and I really, you know, was humble with it and didn't necessarily feel like I deserved to be in the spot that I was at. And he kept giving me more responsibilities, and he was the only person that really gave me a shot when I got done playing college football. So it's always just been about repaying him for giving me a chance and being able to be around great kids and help do things that have never been done before at Iowa State. So we've had awesome kids, we've had awesome coaches. I've been really lucky to just be able to give back to the program and the school and Coach Campbell. So it's been a long journey, but a fun journey, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Right, and when you talk about like grooming these players and everything as well too, it's about getting them ready for the next level, but also trying to get them ready to be adults as well too. Talk to me about the balance of both of that, like trying to get them ready for the NFL and trying to get them ready for adulthood.
Yeah, I think the unique thing about Iowa State is there's no pro sports teams in the state. It's us and the team out on the east side of the state. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a football player at Iowa State. Everybody knows who you are everywhere you go. You can't really just blend in anywhere. So everywhere our guys go, they kind of know who they are when they walk in. Doesn't matter if it's McDonald's or Starbucks or Walmart, whatever it is. So when our guys walk around town, they got to carry themselves in a mature way and make sure they're representing the program well. And Ames, Iowa is not the biggest place ever. So, it's a place you kind of, we always say like you kind of got to be called to Ames, Iowa, because it's not the fanciest. We don't have the coolest anything. So if you come here, it's because you want to, not have much else to do besides football and school and spend a lot of time in the facility just with, being around the guys and being around each other. So the unique thing about that place is you get so much time with your teammates and your coaches and things like that. So I think it helps people grow up a little bit, and it just shows them that the slower life moves, I think you can appreciate the little things a little bit more, and it allows them to grow immensely in the process.
Of all the roles that you've had, in Iowa State with the program as well, is there a favorite stop of yours, or is it now because the newest challenge is offensive coordinator that this is your favorite now?
I think at the time, and I didn't really realize it, but when I was doing like the recruiting stuff, I don't remember what the title was exactly, but I was in charge of the offensive recruiting and still like a quality control coach. But I think so many coaches like should have to work in a recruiting role because you learn so much, and it's such a pivotal part of the program of growing the foundation of your football team. I think at the time I didn't like it, and looking back on it, like because growing up, like on the PlayStation 2, I was doing story mode and franchise mode, and I like building the team, and it was fun for me to kind of have like be able to steer the head of where the coaches were looking for certain people, and it really kind of helped me just learn like how to recruit people, where to like what kind of people to recruit, what's important to people, and as college football has kind of grown away and got to like a transactional approach, I think we've always been able to get good players by doing it the old fashioned way and, you know, digging our relationships into people and being authentic and vulnerable with who we are.
Digging into that a little bit more, one of the statements that a scout once told me when I was at the Senior Bowl that really stuck out in my mind was, "Yeah, you scout the player, but scouting the person is harder." What type of balance is that when you're recruiting someone for Iowa State about the type of person you want to bring into the building while also cultivating their talent?
Yeah, it's a big deal for us, just for everything that I said. Like, you got to recruit guys that don't want to be at a place where they're going to be getting bottle service and going all the different bars on campus and being like that kind of guy. Like you're looking for the kind of kid like Charlie Kolar plays for the Ravens now. Like him and the guys in his class, like they would go play Risk and Catan, and I thought it was like the nerdiest, you know, thing ever. But they loved it and they did it, and so much of our guys like play golf and just fish and all these stuff that like I didn't grow up doing that I do now, and kind of same thing with these guys. Like they just find different ways to get and interact with our teammates. And the main thing that we do when we get a kid on campus is we get them around our players. And Coach Campbell will ask, the host, like, what'd you think of this guy? Like, can he fit our program? Like, what's he about? Like, when you guys are with him, like, was he trying to go out to the bars, or was he like asking the right questions about what it's like, after losses? What's it like in morning workouts? Like, what's position meetings like and things like that. So we really kind of use our players to sell a program. Like because the players won't lie to you. Like every program you go to, the coaches will tell you everything you want to hear from, the uniforms, the facilities, the NIL stuff. But like when you get the recruits to talk to the players and they get to see what it's like, and I think if you ask like the walk-ons in our program as well as like the Jaylen and Jadens, like the superstars in our program, I think the message would be pretty consistent from the top down. And you try to treat everybody fair. And that's one of my favorite things about Coach Campbell. He treats me the same way that he treats Carl, our janitor. He's very, very even keel. He makes everybody feel important. That's one of the things that I loved about him when I first got to Toledo. So, yeah, our guys, it's all about fit. You got to, recruit guys you can lose with, as well as win with. But I think we look for college football as being really hard. Who can you go through hard times with? And that's something we ask with everybody we bring in.
Thank you for the transition into Jaylin Noel and Jayden Higgins. That was perfect, Taylor. So I'll be honest with you. During the season, I'm wrapped up in 49ers stuff. College football is going around the same time. If I double down on both, then I probably wouldn't get to spend time with my kids or anything like that. So I try to keep
Yeah.
Saturdays for that at least. But I dig into a lot of that stuff after the season's over. Unfortunately for the 49ers, the season was over pretty early, as they were eliminated with a few weeks to go. And I really started to get into Jalen's tape and then his Senior Bowl performance in the one-on-ones and the pushback that I receive all the time because my comp, and you can tell me if this is off, is a faster DJ Moore, right? Like someone who is in
Yeah.
the same type of role who can play X, Z everywhere around the field, tough at the catch point. I feel like he plays bigger than he is. But what are some of the things that you were able to see while he was there as well too? Because I think people are just enamored with his speed and scared about his size, but I think size doesn't matter when you're a football player, and I think that's what I kind of see from Jaylen.
Yeah. Jalen's the biggest guy in our locker room. He's the best leader that I've been at Iowa State for going into my 10th year. He's the best leader that we've ever had on offense. He's better. I mean, I love Brock, one of my favorite people ever. Charlie, Brees Hall, Alan Lazar. Like we've had some good guys. He's the best leader that we've ever had. And he's the kind of guy when you walk into, like, he's got a look in his eye that makes everybody feel more confident, feel better. Like he's the hungriest guy, the most competitive guy I've ever been around, and he's got like an it factor to him, like where you just know, like when push comes to shove, like we can't get that guy to the ball enough. Like if we put the ball in his hand, something good's gonna happen. And you look at even like not the stuff on his highlight tape, like there was a reverse against Utah where it should have lost 8 yards, and he ended up getting 5 yards on it just because like the guys just built different, and he just wouldn't allow a negative play to happen with the ball in his hands. And the versatility that he has is incredible. I think like the patience and the tempo that he has in his route, same thing with Jaden. Like those guys understand space, they understand leverage, they understand defense. Like those guys could drop all 11 people on our field. It's not like the X receiver that you hear about where he had to be the single into the boundary every time because he didn't know the formations. Like this Jaylen Higgins, like if we would have gotten a pinch, like and our second quarterback would have went down, like Jaylen would have went in and played quarterback. Like the guys like that. So he's just a football guy. He's about it. He's a mature guy. He's engaged. He's getting married this summer. Like he
Nice.
carries, like, as if I'm ever a head coach, like that guy when he gets done playing will be somebody that I beg to come be a coach on wherever I'm working.
And I think a lot of people get enamored with gifts and size and weight and they lose the route running acumen. They lose the ability to get himself open. And that's what I continue to see not only on tape but in the Senior Bowl one-on-ones. And there's a play where a DB's draped all over him and he's holding him essentially and he still plays through that. I think the part that people are missing is they're like, "Oh, well, he's this size and I don't know if he can." it's less about that and what I've been enamored with, and more about how he gets himself open and how tough he
Yeah.
plays. So I mean, you've already done it, but you know, pitch me on why the size doesn't necessarily matter and why he'll
Yeah.
be successful in the NFL.
I think it matters even less in the NFL than it does in college. Like in college, it's just it honestly like you can hold on every single play. In the NFL, like you can't touch these guys. So for us, when we're recruiting a guy, like we like somebody with some length that can be physical at the top of these routes and can get into people and work throwbys and stuff like that. Like Jaylen is, I think he'll get better at running routes. Like Noah Pauly, our receiver coach, is I think the best receiver coach in college football. And what he trains these guys from a release standpoint, from a drive phase, from a top of the route standpoint, the efficiency that guy has in his route game, like he's only going to get better because people can't hold him at the next level. Like he can attack blind spots. He can push people vertical. He understands how to move the line of scrimmage. He understands how to eat up space and manipulate defenders in man coverage. Like we never saw hardly any man coverage. We saw it against Utah. And if you go watch him and Jaden, like they had one of their better games. So like I can't wait to see what those guys can do versus man coverage at the next level. And that guy, like you've seen so many, how many small receivers have we seen go to the NFL and be better? Like if you learn anything from the intangibles of that position, like you don't see the 6'5" guys excel at that level like you do the guys that are efficient in their routes. There's that Danny Amendola's. I mean, all those kind of guys. It's countless, and those guys can't roll like Jaylen can roll. So he's gonna go somewhere, and like I said, be one of the biggest guys in the locker room, be the hardest working guy in the locker room. He'll push the culture of anywhere that he goes, and he'll make everyone else around him better. Like he's like that, but. I'm not worried for 1 second about his length. Like that doesn't even whatever.
I appreciate you helping me push this narrative because I've been, on board, and I get that same sort of pushback. But again, there's different ways and different receivers. They win in different ways, and I think that's the part that people lose. And it's not all about size. But transitioning to Jaden, Jaden's a bigger guy, and I wanted to ask you, how much does it help that his brother has been so successful in the NFL, and how that kind of rubs off on him, if there's any insight into that?
Yeah, I don't know how much that makes a difference one way or the other. Like the thing that stands out about Jaden is the work ethic and the preparation that he has. Like he's a last guy out of the facility every single day. Like when I walk out of the facility, like he's in there catching jugs balls. And he lives for it. He watches more tape probably than a lot of the receivers that we've had. Like he's a route technician. Like what he's able to do at the line of scrimmage. Like you watch when they talk, like when I was watching the combine stuff, they show all the wide receivers at the catch point, in the middle of the route. Jaden's the only person that they show at the line of scrimmage. Like he can manipulate people like nobody I've ever seen. He's got patience like nobody I've ever seen at the line of scrimmage. And he's so fluid and he's so sudden. But it's not because it's like he studies it. He wants to perfect his craft, and he knows like in the most critical point of the game, the ball's going to be going to him. Like if it's 3rd and 8, like we're going to get zero coverage. Like every single concept we have has a man beater attacker with Jaden. Our zone beater attacker is going to Jaylen probably. Our man beater attacker is going to Jaden, and like you got to know, especially at Iowa State, like it's going to be a 1-score game, and there's going to be 4 or 5 plays of the game where it's all on your shoulders, big dog. It's all on you, and we're going to give you a chance, and it's going to be you versus that guy, and he wants it, and he's a special guy, but he's truly like I said, a football guru. Like almost every single route that we had was like an option route where it's either him, in the slot, it's man coverage, he's got to run out, it's zone coverage, he's got to sit down, find the zone. Like he's a very, very savvy, smart football mind.
That's awesome, and that's what I noticed too is about the catch point, and a lot of people get enamored again because he's so tall, but with like the jump ball thing, it's about who wants it more, and it always felt like no matter who was on him, whether it was the best DB that was there and in Mobile, or whether it was a guy who was a little bit taller, he still wanted it more, and it felt like that's kind of what I walked away with when I was watching him. So tell me about what it's like in this process. We're about a month away from the draft, and you've got 2 guys that are going to be drafted for sure. Where we don't know yet. But talk to me about the excitement about being able to coach these guys and knowing that they're about to take it to the next level in the NFL.
It's really exciting, and that's why I was excited to get on here because I can't say enough good stuff just about those 2 people. not only as football players, but they're like the most mature guys ever. Like they're not like the diva wide receiver like that you're used to reading or hearing about. Like they want to go somewhere and help win football games, and they want to go somewhere and be put in big situations. And what they did for our program and just the strides that we were able to make in 2 years and the records, and the wins that we were able to have this year. Like I can't say just enough about how impactful and important those two guys are. Their families are unbelievable. Their parents are unbelievable. Their girlfriends, fiancés are unbelievable. Like you just don't see a ton of guys like this. And like the way that they carry themselves and like they're so unselfish and the way that they push everybody and celebrate everybody else's accomplishments. Like the thing I'm most proud of at Iowa State is like how those two react when like Gabe Burkle, our tight end, scores a touchdown, or when we run the ball in. Like we snuck the ball in to beat the game against Miami and UCF and Utah. Like those guys are the most excited people on the field because it's not about them. And you don't see receivers that are as talented as those guys that do that. So, I mean, I'm trying to. My wife's 5 months pregnant. I'm trying to get her to name our son Jaylen and Jaden. Like I'm not joking. Like I like these guys like that. So they're such good dudes. I'm gonna be fans of them forever. We've had some really good ones come through Iowa State. Some good football players. Like, but those guys will be grossly successful in football, after football, and what they've done. Just they took an Iowa State to places it has never been, and I'm indebted to those guys forever.
Well, congratulations to you and your wife, first of all. So that's amazing
Yeah,
news to hear as
appreciate it.
well. So now that you've talked about the two guys that I've really watched, talk to me about some of the players that are coming out of Iowa State that maybe people are sleeping on, that deserve more coverage, that should be talked about a little bit more during this draft process.
Yeah, we have a tight end fullback guy named Steve Klotz that I really tried to use in like the juice check mold that you guys, are used to seeing out there. And I would even say like this guy's probably the best on the ball blocker that we've ever had at Iowa State. And we had some other good tight ends that we could put on and put him in the backfield. He was a cheat code for us in pass protection and line of scrimmage. Like I talked about the sneaks, like it's gonna be hard to replace that guy. He's a 6'4", 250-pound lean guy that can run. Like he's gonna go somewhere and make a team and be a guy that's on all four special teams units that could be attached and block 9 techniques in that league, be off the ball and insert and block linebackers. I think the versatility of that guy, and like you talk about a guy that eats nails, this guy will run through your face. Just an absolute animal. Our center, Jared Hufford, was really a difference maker for us in a lot of ways. Like we were the second team in the country on fourth down percentage, and a lot of it was because of him. I mean, very rarely do we have a mic point that was wrong. He's, just as wide as he is long, eats nails, cares. He'll go somewhere and make a team. I think he'll be a later round guy. Jalen Travis, our left tackle, is another guy that killed it at the Senior Bowl. I mean, the best O lineman we've probably had at Iowa State since I've been there. And he came to us from Princeton and played 1 year. Like that guy's just starting to scratch the surface of how good he could be. He's one of the best pass pro tackles I think in the draft. He's huge. He's a 6'9" kid, and he graduated from Princeton. The guy's brilliant. Like when you talk to him, like he's not like one of us football dumb guys that I could just draw circles and stuff on a whiteboard. Like this guy could run for president one day. He's like that, and he still has so much to grow. He'll be really really special. I mean, we have Darian Porter on defense, our corner. He was a 4.3 guy, one of the fastest guys in the history of Iowa, and he was a wide receiver that played 3 years at wide receiver that moved a corner, and just took off. So it's going to be a fun year to see where these guys end up. They're all really good kids. They're all really special dudes that care. They'll play special teams. They'll do whatever it takes to win. They've came here and took Iowa State to places it's never been before, and they'll go somewhere and try to do the same thing, whatever locker room they end up in.
Talking with Taylor Mauser, the offensive coordinator for Iowa State. All right, Taylor, you knew this was coming. I have to ask you about the 49ers quarterback and
Yeah.
the misconception I think the league has of him because of where he was drafted. Talk to me about what you saw specifically in Iowa State that NFL evaluators didn't or missed out on, I think, going into the draft.
Yeah, I think just the competitive excellence that guy has, the willingness, to fight for every single inch on the field. He's the kind of guy that holds and fights for the standard, demands excellence of everybody that's on the field. And he's the kind of guy that has like a rage and a spark to him when he goes out there that like everyone's like, oh man, like this guy's built different. Like he can extend plays better than anybody I've ever seen. And I think in that league, like you've seen that be one of the biggest factors with successful quarterbacks in that league. And like how much that guy cares, the work ethic that he puts in, like the love that he has for his teammates and coaches. So there's stuff there that aren't necessarily intangibles. The accuracy the accuracy, ball placement, and the timing that guy has is exceptional. And what he was able to do here for our football team and the extending of the plays and just making something out of nothing is really, really special. But I think who he is between the years and just like the passion that he plays the game with, like, is something that everyone around him appreciates, from the front office to the coaching staff to the players. Like, people want to be around. It doesn't matter if you're working in football or working in an office. Like, people respect work ethic and people respect people that try to perfect their craft. And that's that guy. And he's super unselfish. He doesn't care about himself. He cares about, his teammates, his friends and family. And he's a special guy, man. I've been lucky to know him for a little while. We're from the same hometown in Arizona, so it's awesome. His family's, can't say enough good stuff about his family too. They're great people.
So it's safe to say you're not surprised at the success he's been able to attain in his short time in the league.
No, there's people that you meet that are just overachievers in every sense of the word, and it's hard because people want to be able to point their finger or on exactly what it is. And some people are just special and driven and will find a way to make it work. It don't matter if it's in football or you see those people, I'm sure you've met them, that's on like the golf course or wherever it is, like, at pickup basketball. Like, Brock Purdy's is one of those guys that it don't matter if it's pickleball. Like, I've seen the guy at ping pong in his living room, like him and his brother going at it. Like, he's just one of those guys that I knew wherever he went, like, he was going to be one of the hardest working guys in the facility and be somebody that gained the respect of everyone. And I'm not surprised by it at all.
Going back to kind of what I was saying about Jaden and Jaylen about physical profile, I think Brock's a victim of, not 6'5" and huge bazooka arm and where he was drafted. But how is it that this game manager, kind of label has been thrown on him when every quarterback has to manage the game in some aspect? And I think that Brock has shown, especially in the short time that he's been there, that he's probably been the most successful quarterback in this 49ers offense since Kyle Shanahan's been there. It's just the game manager portion is the part that sometimes people lose me at.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason, and it happens in football all the time, it don't matter what level you're at, like, everyone feels the need to like categorize everybody at all the positions at receiver or O-line or quarterback. Like, they have to be put in these certain categories, but like it doesn't matter. Like, you want to win football games. And like that guy's had elite stats in that thing. And like, yeah, like he's a guy that made all his teammates around him better. Like, I don't know like what you want necessarily from your quarterback. Like, you can have, the big arm guy that's huge, that throws it a million miles an hour, that leads the league in touchdowns, and then leads the league in interceptions at the same time. Like, what do you want? So like, what's really important at the end of the day? But I don't know why like that guy has had to be at the root of some criticism, because like I promise he doesn't care about it at all, and that's good, for him. And like, he wants to go somewhere, and nothing's more important to that guy than like bringing a Super Bowl to San Francisco. And I promise he'll die trying to be able to like walk off the field at the end of the season a winner. Like, and you go watch like what he did in college and like how dead that guy is walking off the field. Like, I went to the NFC Championship game when he got hurt versus the Eagles, and talked to him afterwards, and just how devastated, not because he's hurt, like he wanted to win the game for his teammates in the city and everybody that cares about the Niners. So I don't know why like the game manager thing. Yeah, like I think people feel the need to like have to put all these quarterbacks in tiers and categories, what have you, da 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 da. It doesn't make sense to me.
So final question, and again, thank you for your time. And it's about Brock. So obviously he's due this extension. And I know that you probably don't have any insight into, what the thought process is, but do you feel like Brock is going to be the type of guy that's going to handle it all in stride, no matter how the contract negotiations go, and kind of just put the team first as opposed to, he deserves to be rewarded, but I mean, we've seen contract negotiations get kind of messy when it comes to different positions, but especially at quarterback. How do you see Brock handling these negotiations moving forward?
Yeah, Brock's a team first guy. I'm sure he hates all of it and all like the talk that's behind it because he just wants to play football, and I'm sure he is letting his agent do his thing. Like I said, I don't know, but I promise like money's the farthest thing, from driving that guy. He doesn't care about it. I know that there's a part of it that will take care of itself, and he knows where he stands in the grand aspect of things, but he's certainly not the kind of guy that's going to stretch the pennies of that organization one way or the other. Like he just won't. Like he's not that kind of guy. He'll go some at the end of his career. He'll go live in the middle of nowhere probably and just fish every day. And you don't need a ton of money to do that. So I'm sure whatever, if there is a holdup, there's not a holdup. I have no idea what's going on with it, but I promise it's not because Brock's asking for more money. He's not like that. He he's just not.
Awesome. Taylor, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, man. Good luck, this season coming up and in your recruiting as well, too. And thank you for all the insights about Jaylin Noel. I mean, you got to help me push this narrative, man, because I'm trying my
Yeah.
best to get him out there,
Well,
and
believe me,
hopefully yeah.
you're gonna be a guy that if you guys draft him, you'll be saying "I told you so" to a lot of people. So you won't have to fight for that guy much.
Literally my favorite thing in the world is to say I told you so. So I definitely want to see
Yeah,
the
I hear
49ers
you there.
draft him as well, too.
Me
But
too, man. I
Taylor,
love I
thank you
love it.
so thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And guys, follow Taylor on Twitter as well too. It's T_Mauser. And again, Taylor, thank you for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man.